Are you a fan of horror movies?
Necronomicon Ex Mortis, the Book of the Dead.
What about cult classics?
Your move, creep.
If you are, you'll love Shocking Things. Please search for us on all the major podcasting platforms. To see our social media and a direct link to our podcast, please go to anchor.fm/shockingthings.
Hey everyone, you want to listen to the best in pro wrestling talk? Tune in to the Top Rope Report podcast with Mr. Trivia and the Nugster Greg every Sunday, 6:30 p.m. on TalkShoe.com, Anchor, Spotify, Google Podcast. Join us as we discuss WWE, NXT, PAPW Independent Wrestling, and a whole lot more. It's the Top Rope Report, the best in pro wrestling talk.
All right, everybody, and welcome to the show. Somebody I'm very excited to finally be speaking with, Ryan Fraust. How are you, sir?
Great. Thank you very much for having me. I'm excited to finally be on here.
Yeah, I'm excited as well. I'd like to thank Big Jim for hooking this up and sending you my way, because that's Jim's a great guy, and I like that. So I want to ask you, I'm basically going to ask you a few basic questions, so I watched a couple of your interviews with Don Kincaid, and something that I wanted to ask you more about, detailed about. So you had both an acting career and a music career prior to professional wrestling?
Yes,
Is
sir.
this true?
Yeah.
Tell me, and something that I'm very excited about, and I will get to that, but I want to know a little bit more about your acting career.
Yeah. So when I was in high school, we did a lot of, my friends and I did backyard wrestling, like most wrestlers have at some point.
Yeah.
And if I had known that you could just go to a school and just become a wrestler, I would have done it. I had no idea. We all grew up obsessed with ECW. The NWO was happening. It was basically the greatest time to grow up a wrestling fan.
Mm-hmm.
And if I had known that you could just go to a place, I would have. I had no responsibilities. I've had a job since I was 18. I could have put $3,000 together to pay somebody to make me bump 50 times a night, and that's how you get into it back then. And I definitely would have. But because I had no idea, I just was like, all right, well, I'll get into acting. We'll see.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of like wrestling, and I enjoyed it, and I did, some cool shit. And as I got into acting and there were more musical opportunities, I started to take vocal lessons, and I was like, man, I got a decent instrument, naturally, so I'm going to learn how to sing right. And I learned how to sing, and I sang for some cool bands and had some cool opportunities with that as well. And then eventually, down the road, long after college and everything, I had moved to New York City to do acting. I had moved back because I hated the city. And Ron Zombie, who I knew from being in bands, I knew he was a actor, but we were friendly because Nasty Disaster, the greatest band that Connecticut ever produced. Have you never heard of Disaster?
Oh, I've seen them many times, but the fact that you've said they were the greatest band that Connecticut ever produced, that's...
it's beautiful, and you know it. So what?
It's funny, every time I go to any metal concert, I just so happen to run into Ron. He's at any big show, whether it be Bridgeport, at the Harbor Yard, or Cherry Street in Wallingford. He's always at any of these shows. So.
Cherry Street. Big
yes.
up to Dennis and Sarah and Holly over at Cherry Street. I can't imagine you'll see this, but great squad of people running a great venue there.
That is a really cool place. I actually drove by there the other day. I believe it's still operating, correct?
Just came back from COVID.
Yeah, well, along with everything. Yeah. So I didn't imagine they were, but I've seen some really great shows there. Mostly a lot of punk rock shows, but I'd go and see bands like Biohazard and stuff like that there who were just, I mean, man, that's such a great venue. It's such a dive, but it's like they put on some of the greatest shows they book some of the greatest shows that Connecticut has seen, you know.
Well, to see Biohazard in that environment, you know what I mean? Like, they're right there. Like, you're gonna have a beer with them. Like, that's all.
I went from seeing them in a bigger place, like, say, Toad's Place in the 90s to Cherry Street just a few years later. You know, it was pretty wild.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah.
So,
they did. Cherry Street actually spent, you know, a good amount of money and time making a good stage, you know, because everyone was always playing on the floor and everyone was happy to play because we love this place, you know. And they put a stage up, and the sound system is great. I love it there. I don't know.
Yeah, no, it's really awesome. They don't really post much on like social media or something for their shows, do you? Or is it just pretty much like Facebook? Really? Okay, I have to search on that because since COVID, there hasn't been any shows really, so I'm really looking forward to going to more shows. You know.
So, are you from Connecticut?
I live in Hamden.
Oh, cool. Okay.
Yeah. I've grew up in Woodbridge, and lived in New Haven and Hamden pretty much moved back to Hamden just a few years back, probably when I met my wife. So.
Oh, cool.
So, yeah, I'm loving it. I'm actually on the Cheshire Town Line. So, you know, when I went to the last, was it 2 weeks ago, the Testo Strength Show? It's literally probably about 10 minutes from my house. I just hop on Route 42, and then right on that side of the road was the venue. So.
Yeah.
Yep. So, are you in Waterbury? Am I correct by that?
I live in Watertown.
Okay. That's not too far. Yeah.
No, I've worked in Waterbury. I mean, you know, I've worked a lot of places, but I've spent a lot of time in Waterbury. Yeah. Went to high school in Waterbury. Yeah.
I'm there. Before we're getting a little, I mean, this is a normal thing. We get off topic and stuff like that constantly, but my son actually plays basketball in Waterbury, so I'm there like 3-4 times a week for basketball. So he plays
high schools or
no, he plays AAU ball, and the team's out of Waterbury. So we're there all the time and practicing, and then the games, all that stuff. It's a lot of traveling to Waterbury every week. So there used to be some really great record stores in Waterbury as well back in the day. There used to be
Phoenix Records.
Yeah, that was like I literally went there every week for 20 years. That was my favorite spot. So every now and again, I was running into the kid Damon that worked there for years, and then I ran into the professor just a few years ago. I was buying a car, and probably around the corner from where Phoenix used to be, and then he walked in to get his oil changed, and he was the owner, the old guy that owned the place for years, and I was just like, he remembered me. That's from shopping there, but that was awesome. I thought. So
that's super cool.
Yeah. So tell me more about your music career.
Music. So I live currently with my first bassist ever. Him and his family in the family home that we practiced in back then, which is crazy. But you know, I was in high school and I auditioned for a play for Grease, senior year of high school, and I was too afraid to sing. So I got one of the other T-Birds who didn't have a song, you know. And
so you were going to be Danny Zuko?
Well, I looked exactly like him, but
really,
and they wanted like, please fucking sing, please fucking sing, and I was like, you know, because I believe it or not, big black, luscious hair when it's there, you know, and it didn't happen, and but then I was, you know, it's high school, so dating in high school is like, you know, it's not really dating.
Yeah.
My girlfriend was into theater, and she convinced me to try singing like stuff like Jekyll and Hyde, like kind of like edgier stuff, and that went well. So I started singing for this band, and I was still too scared to sing. And you know, eventually over the years, I started getting lessons and felt more confident, and got more confident. And I had like a bitchin' falsetto, just like natural. You know, so like I was able to do like King Diamond stuff and Priest and you know, all that kind of stuff.
Yep.
I actively chose to focus on wrestling instead of singing like 4 years ago, maybe. And it's like, obviously, it's like any muscle in your body, or it's like any skill you have. If you don't practice, it is not what it was. So right now, if you ask me to sing like Queensryche or Die, like, it was a good run, I'd probably be dead. But I used to have that shit. I used to have all that shit.
That's a great band, Queensryche. I mean, seriously. Yeah. It's funny that, let me ask you, you have Sirius XM?
I did
no?
when I worked for a car dealership because it was free. I have not, just the service, no.
Well, I just literally just got a new car, and I got Sirius XM, and I've been bouncing for the first, I guess a couple of weeks. Went from, certain stations. I'm a huge Bruce Springsteen fan, so I'd listen to his station a lot. But now I've been going back and listening to like hair metal, like the Hair Nation or the Ozzy's Boneyard, and I discovered that going back and forth, I think Ozzy's Boneyard's the better station. They play the more like
substantial music.
Yeah, I don't know, man. I heard King's X on there today, which I won't hear on which excited me, to hear that. And yeah, as opposed to like they didn't play it on there, but on Hair Nation, I can hear a lot of Dokken, so that kind of like makes me happy there. So it's just I don't know. It just plays. Seems like what's that?
Little Skid Row.
Yeah, stuff like that. Yeah. So you had an extra part in Indiana Jones, the last movie.
I did.
See, I did some research. I'm telling you, I did.
Wow.
So I remember because I worked. Well, when prior to COVID, I worked downtown. The company that I work for is downtown New Haven.
Oh, okay.
I remember them closing everything and all this other stuff. And,
that street, yep.
Yeah. So you want to talk a little bit about this? And the funny part about it is my sons are visiting me, and they were watching that movie the other day. Now that I found this out, I'm going to have to go back and watch that again because they've been obsessed with Indiana Jones since they came to visit. So.
Okay. Well, I can tell you where to pause and shit, but like you got to look to find it. The cool thing was because I'm just big. I was, instead of being just an extra, I was a member of the varsity football team at the university.
Right.
So technically a character, and I got paid way more, which is awesome.
Yep.
So the scenes, when they shut down the whole street over by Yale, they were doing the motorcycle chase. And I know he's much older now, but even back then, Harrison Ford was pretty fucking old. And he's climbing off the back of a motorcycle into the back seat of this car through the window himself.
He's doing his own stunts.
He did. I don't know that he did all of his own.
Well, just
I watched it. Crazy.
That's incredible.
I got to hang out with Shia LaBeouf a little. Transformers came out while we were filming. So like people knew who he was, but he wasn't like Yeah. And he's like still in this knife gimmick that he did during the course of the movie, and he's just practicing it. And he's just talking about how, like, yeah, it was cool to make that movie. I hope it does well. Yeah, like, just so.
I hope it does well. They did like 6 of them. I hope it does well. So he's in almost all of them. I mean,
but that's cool. Like, you meet somebody and he's not a dick about it. He's just like, I hope it,
That's pretty cool. So you also mentioned that you were an amateur wrestler in school.
I was high school.
So did this lead into you? Like, tell me a little bit. What made you interested in wrestling in school? I also wrestled in high school. I wasn't very good, but how did you get interested in that?
So that would the entire journey as a whole would start with sitting on the living room floor watching VHS tapes of WrestleManias with my great grandmother. Right, Randy Savage. Immediately, I was like, "This is fucking awesome." And when I got into high school, I was like the second tallest kid, and they all wanted me to play basketball. So freshman year, I played thirds basketball. And then the wrestlers came over and they were like, "Why are you playing wrestling? Or why are you playing basketball?" They were like, "Come wrestle." And I was like, I don't know if I want to roll around on the ground with dudes in spandex, And they were like, okay, well then you just stay here and play with balls. And I was like, oh, you got me. So then I was like, so I don't know, what's it like? Is it kind of like wrestling on TV? And they're like, no, it's real. And I'm like, oh, all right, well, I'll come to a practice. So then from sophomore year, junior and senior year, I wrestled, and like I got most improved sophomore year, and I was the most valuable wrestler for junior and senior year, and I loved it immediately.
Mm-hmm.
I was never very, very good. It was prep school league. Like I beat these kids up because I was just really angry and strong. Like I would wrestle 189, but sometimes if somebody doesn't show up, you can get that win by bumping somebody else up. Are you familiar? Yeah, you said you wrestled.
Yeah, I wrestled 189 my first 2 years, and then my last year was heavyweight. So.
Okay.
Yep.
Well, so I would float. Like if I had to go up to 215, I went up to 215. If I had to go heavyweight, I only did it once, but I did win. Don't ask me how.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It was good. I loved it. I still to this day think it's the truest sport because it's one similar weights.
Yep.
Who's better, you know?
I respect people that like amateur wrestlers. I mean, to me, it's like my favorite sport. I will watch it, the Olympics and collegiate wrestling, the NCAA. You know, every time it's on, it's really one of my favorites. It's just, it's fun. It's fun. It's real competition.
Do you remember from your recent visit to Test of Strength? Do you remember the Grapple God, Jordan Rowe?
Yes.
Kid, like he was going to go to college for wrestling. He's now he's training at Test of Strength. He is unreal.
Yeah, he entertained me quite a bit. I liked him, and I want to see more of him. So I want to get in. Yeah, I mean, it's the first time I've seen him. I think he friended me on Facebook, not like probably a few months back, 6 months back or whatever. And I think was that about when he was breaking in?
Yeah,
around that. Yeah,
and he's like a super good dude. Like,
yep.
Not. I know there's a lot of characters in wrestling, like.
Yeah.
But he is just a good person. All he wants is to get better all the time, and he trains harder than the rest of the dojo put together. So
that's awesome.
He's going to do great.
So you went from basically you said that you wanted to wrestle, but you got into acting because it was kind of. But so what? How old are you, if you don't mind me asking?
I am 39 years of age.
Oh wow, you're a lot younger than I thought you were. So how did you? Well, I thought you were closer to my age. I'm 45. So how did you get interested in professional wrestling and actually taking that step?
Well, so like I said, as a kid, I watched it and I was like, this is it. This is everything I love. This is incredible. Because I read comic books. Now I'm watching them do comic books. It's
the characters, the over-the-top characters.
Fighting and shit, so then we did the backyard wrestling, and like those, I still say that's got to be the best time of my life, no matter what else I've done. Because that's me, my closest friends, doing what we want to do, not worrying about any other responsibilities, not worrying about anything else in life. And we took it seriously. Like we everybody's backyard company was the best backyard company. I get it.
Every kid does it though, like the backyard wrestling. So
we did like birthday parties. We did like Boy Scout events. Like we took it seriously. We cared about it. Put as much as we could into it, And so the door, the little crack in the window there that happened was Ron Zombie. That's how we got sidetracked. Ron posted on Facebook when I was home in Connecticut, because I moved around a lot doing different jobs. And Ron posted online that Stevie Richards was giving a seminar at a place called Pro Wrestling Academy in New Haven.
Okay.
And I was like, I messaged him and I said, hey man, do you think I've never, and I used to say to Ron at metal shows, I always used to say to him, man, hey, listen, one day we're going to have a wrestling match, And because Nasty Disaster and any metal band I was in, at least definitely played shows together. But so, and Ron was like, well, let me ask Stevie. And me, I'm like, you know Stevie Richards? That's crazy. You're going to email him? And he's like, yeah, he said come down. Of course, now I know how wrestlers work, and now I know how wrestling works. Yeah, you could put a sex doll in the audience, and as long as you pay $20 for it, you know what I mean? Like,
Right.
Yeah, bring anyone who will pay $20 to the seminar. But back then I was like, holy shit. So I get there and I'm wearing like a cutoff shirt and like whatever knee pads I could find or anything I could find that looked like gear, and just did this seminar and like got to lock up with them, and I marked out, and that's actually met friends that are close friends to this day. I met Hippie Dickie Moon there that day. Ron popped in. I believe I met Bull Dredd that day. Spence Wrecking Ball Legursky I met. These were all people who were in Xander Lit. These are all guys who were in PWA at the time. And it was super cool. It was a lot of fun. And I was like, how can I do this? How can I join this school? What can I do? And they told me their schedule, because it was Joseph von Schmidt who was running the school, and his wife, Time Kara. And I know Buzz Bloodsaw was kind of the hands-on trainer in the ring at the time. And Troy Stevens, who at the time was Lucifer Lords, was doing a lot of the training. And they were like, yeah, it's this nights. And I'm like, oh man, I wait tables. I can't go. And they were like, okay, well, this kid really wants to do this. Here's what we want a month. And, pick 2 or 3 weekdays and come in the afternoon. And I did that for a whole summer, and it was awesome. And I got in the best shape I've probably been in since I even considered trying to wrestle. And like, because it was hot as fuck. It was like 105 degrees in that room, and doing drills and stuff.
Right.
And it was great. So that was it. That was when I was like, okay, I can train, so I'm going to do this. Go ahead.
Nope. Go ahead. That was at the original PWA. Didn't they end up moving to Cheshire?
Shortly
after.
Where you're at, yeah.
Yeah. It's unfortunate because when PWA was around, I had literally gotten out of wrestling for probably like 3 or 4 years. Through stuff going on in life, and then probably about 4 years ago, it started. No, it has to be about 5. So when I married my ex-wife, or my second wife, her son was into WWE, so I started going to shows again, taking him, and then I got really into it, and then I heard about the PWA. I was going to go to a show, and then literally shortly after they closed down, I guess. So, but I don't know how long ago that was. But then,
was it that you went to? Do you remember?
I really don't know. I don't.
That's all right.
But a lot of people were talking about it. I saw literally take them for haircuts, and there was a flyer hanging up in the barber shop, and I was just like, what is this? And that's probably one of the things that like really got me back into it, and it's been pretty much strictly indie for like the last few years that I've been into.
How can you watch?
We can get into that. So it's like I finally gave up on Raw and SmackDown like after God knows how long, and the AEW I don't really care for either. So I don't know if you watch that at all.
I do watch everything. I was joking.
Yeah. No, I mean it's all a matter of personal preference, because it's like you just
the pandemic didn't help anybody.
Right. But there's
actually
like,
it helped AEW a lot because they had an open air facility where they could put some fans in the seats and make noise.
Yeah. But the one thing is, like, if you don't like something, there's so much wrestling out there now. You can find a company that you like and stick with it. You know what I mean? I just so happened to just started going to shows in Connecticut, and just I started going to like Paradise Alley shows and stuff like that, and because it's probably 15 minutes from my house or whatever, I just hop on the highway, a couple exits, and I'm there.
Yeah.
And and then I would watch like the current NWA, which I seem to like a lot, and so
I like it, but I don't even know when it airs.
Well, now it's on Fight, so it's like
sorry.
What's that? I'm sorry. You
can always go back and play it. I know, but like
yeah.
I don't know when it comes new.
Every Tuesday, 6:00. So if you can find it online at a source, because now it's like there's like a paywall for $5, but I'm sure you could find it online. Not that I'm condoning that to anybody, but finding it on any
Not that
random
we're
web.
about $5 either.
Yeah, $5 for 4 episodes or something to that effect. I enjoy that. It's there's a lot of kinks that they need to work out since coming back in the pandemic, but it's really the most enjoyable to me because I grew up watching the NWA in the '80s, and it was always like my favorite. And it's very similar to that style. I forgot where we were, PWA, but this is an interview with you, not me. Let's see, where else are we going? So I went back and I actually watched a bunch of your matches on YouTube as well.
Sorry about that.
No, I enjoyed more than some of these matches I did not know existed. You took on Brutal Bob Evans, a guy that's been around for a very long time. I grew up watching, well, not grew up because I was probably in my 20s when he debuted. That was at Battlefront. Am I correct?
Yeah.
I thought I wrote that down. So, what was it like working with Bob?
So, to tell that story completely, so funny.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, everything has to go back a little bit.
Sure.
So I'm working a Battlefront, and like they're liking my stuff, and we're having fun, and it's great, And I tell Credible because I live near PJ, and like we're friendly,
Yeah.
And I was like, he's like, oh man, what are you doing this weekend? I was like, I got an event. He's like, oh, where? I'm like, Massachusetts. He's like, well, shit, I just got canceled on. Can I come? I'm like, yes, of course, Jesus. So then I contact the promoter, and the promoter's like, just incredible? Yes. And I'm like, okay. So I'm like, all right, so we're going to do this. And I wasn't involved with PJ at that time in the storyline. We just go up to the event. He gets on the card. He gets paid. I get paid. It was fantastic. So then they're like, okay, so we're going to put you in a storyline like with them. And my buddy Scott from the band Crossing Rubicon was looking to do a rock and wrestling thing. And I pitched it to Test of Strength first. And Test of Strength was like, yeah, well, we'll try to figure out how it's going to work. But Battlefront was like, oh my God, yes, now let's do it. So we ended up doing Battlefront with the band. So Scott Warziniak, Scotty Anarchy, childhood friend of mine, comes out, cuts a promo with his wife, who's from Ludlow and was in a famous band. She was a bassist for an international metal act called All That Remains.
Oh, yeah, I remember them.
So they come out in Ludlow, where right where she's from, like in the neighboring town to where she was born. And they're like, we're going to do a music video. And the crowd's like, yeah. And we're going to have Just Incredible in the music video. And everyone's like, yeah. And I come out and I'm like, fuck you. You can't make a music video without me. I brought you here. You can't do that. So then we have the beef. Credible comes out. I'm beefing with him. And this might be one of my proudest moments in wrestling. I said, Scott, if you promise that he won't be just incarcerated on January 5th, I will wrestle him for your music video. Shook on it, blah, 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 blah. PJ went to jail.
Yeah.
And you know what? Like, I've heard all of it from his side. I've heard it from his wife's side. I've heard it from his family's side. Like, it was stupid. He didn't do anything crazy. It was all like bureaucratic, like kind of like there was a restraining order, but it was family and like they lived together anyway. It was not what the dirt sheets will tell you. It was not what, people who think they know anything but aren't involved in the situation. It was stupid. It was really, and they needed a replacement. And, obviously this is like my first year wrestling. Like, I'm heartbroken. I loved Just Incredible. I grew up worshiping ECW. And I was heartbroken. They were like, well, we got Brutal Bob Evans. And I watched a lot of Ring of Honor too. I was like, fuck yeah, let's go. This is great. And now me and Bob, like, we're tight. We talked. I feel bad saying that because I should probably text him. It's been It's probably been a while, but we just went out to Ohio and Indiana together. Like, it was my first long drive with him, but like we talk. He's a mentor to anyone who will listen. It's not me especially. It's anyone who will listen, and anyone who wants to improve, and anyone who wants to give back to the business. Brutal Bob Evans will help you.
I see his Facebook posts quite frequently, and he does very business savvy posts. Like, as far as they're always like, he's teaching anybody that will read that. You know what I mean? Any young wrestler. Basically, he's telling you
things with Bob seminars, like the whole service. He has a paid service, and he's still giving away wisdom.
Yeah,
he's still giving away. You know, it's he really, like, if you ask him, he'll tell you that he was not a cool guy, that he fucked over some people, blah blah blah. I haven't seen that side of him. All I've seen is somebody who brought me into New Japan when it was near Boston. And I got to set up the ring, and like I was security for fucking Tanahashi. Like, it was great.
I did not know this. This is wow.
I saw Archer, and I'm like, "You're not that tall." Then I stood next to him. I'm like, "Ah, you're pretty big."
I have AEW on in the background. I don't watch it often, but it's funny because he was just on TV. So
was Tanahashi. I don't know if you were watching.
I'm talking. No, I'm watching. Archer was just on. I meant to say, yeah. That's pretty awesome, though. I mean, he's a pretty cool dude. I'm trying to get him on here. So
easy.
Yeah,
that happened definitely.
Yeah.
So Bob, working with him was the first time I had a match that I learned like a lot, like a lot. Like, I felt progression. He talked to me, you know, he made sure that I knew what points were good points to like get things moving and get the crowd involved, and what points to slow down and like let them, you know, just kind of soak in what's going on. What? Oh, I thought you were going to say something.
No, he's old school. Like, he learned, you know, at a different time period. I'm sorry if somebody made noise in the background upstairs.
Oh, no.
Sorry.
Sorry. No, Bob, like, I learned a shit ton. And we went to the back, and he's like, "How long you said you've been going?" I was like, "Yeah, like 8 months." He was like, "Oh, I thought you said 8 years." You were great for 8 months. If you had said 8 years, I would have been like, "Yeah, you got to work on this or that." No, for 8 months, you're good. Don't worry about it. I was like, "Oh, thank you."
That's so cool.
Who knows how much I learned from him, and how, like, things I wanted to do, and he was like, "Slow down," you know, and he just like cultivated me a little bit. Without that Brutal Bob match, then the eventual match that did happen with Just Incredible would have never been nearly as good. It would have never been as effective. It wasn't a 5-star classic, but it was so much more effective because of what I learned from Bob.
I want to ask you about the Just Incredible match, because I guess there was supposed to be a match where he basically passed the torch to you. No?
I don't know about that. That's big. Did somebody say that?
I could have sworn watching the video. Well, I guess I was speaking to someone, yes, and they said that. But
well, so like that was funny too, because Nick Gage is on TV tonight too. So this all
right here, yeah.
So there was a documentary filming about Just Incredible.
I remember this.
There's a music video filming for Crossing Rubicon.
Okay.
There's Ryan Frost, who is still like about a year in, a little over a year in, but like getting this match with this former ECW World's Heavyweight Champion. And there's Just Incredible, who, you know, lightning rod for controversy, but like the sweetest human being I may ever have met. Great person. Huge wrestling brain. Knows everything. He is so fucking smart about wrestling. And all these worlds are just like kind of like hesitating to collide. And this match happens. We were there I wasn't there at 5 a.m. Crossing Rubicon, and their crew was there at 5 a.m. setting up to record the video in the context of a more than sold out wrestling event, you know? And everyone completely delivered. It was great. The documentary has yet to come out, but they just did some finishing touches from what I understand. And from what I heard, and I can't say whether it was the promoter or the documentary, but somebody said, you know what, we're going to do Nick Gage. Frosty's out. We want it to be really violent. We want it to be really intense for the video and the documentary. And my buddy Scott from Crossing Rubicon, you know, even though our characters feuded during the lead to this, he came out and he said, you know what, if we don't have Ryan in this, we're not doing the video. And I guess PJ himself was like, you know, this is the guy who's helped me get to this point. We're all here doing this together. I don't want to do it with anyone but Ryan. I don't know who, like, I don't think there was a line drawn in the sand. I just don't think that whoever didn't want it to happen with me understood that there was the connection between Scott, myself, and PJ.
Right.
I can't imagine it could have been much better. It would have been much more violent.
Right.
You know, but storyline wise, I can't imagine it could have been much better because we had built this story for over a year. And in the end, because you're saying you wanted to talk about that match specifically, that was my moment where I'm like, okay, well, if I can never do this again, I guess I got to do that. This was a great moment for me personally, and I really enjoyed it. And the music video came out great. Can't wait to see the documentary. I did. It was a great experience.
Wow, that's awesome. But it's
super humbling.
Where's that video available? Is it online already or no?
Music video?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's the song is called "Seeing Red" by Crossing Rubicon. I share it a couple times a year because it comes to mind. Like, guys, look at this. This is fucking great.
I'm looking it up when we're done here.
It's a cool story.
Yeah.
You'll see Bobby Ocean in the video. You'll see a bunch of wrestlers lined up that he walks past, which is cool.
Okay.
And then it's like the story of the video mirrors the band has dealt with some press bullshit, and Credible has dealt with some press bullshit, and it's just them all getting beat down by it, and then just going to war against it, you know?
Right. So tell me, you eventually we talked a lot about Ron Zombie tonight. You took him on
That bum.
June 17th, 2019. Yes. And yeah, I know.
Undeniable.
Yes, in Naugatuck, Connecticut, and quite the match. You guys went all over the bar.
Yeah,
And,
yeah.
At the time, the venue was still called Tazrax. I think they changed their name since. But what do you think about that match, and how'd that go for you?
I hope you watched Kincaid's footage.
I did.
He followed us far, yeah.
Yes, he followed you all over the place. I can't tell you how important Kincaid was to this show. Like he helped me figure out equipment and helping me to use it. I was a part of his round table for quite some time. I guess I'm still part of it. He doesn't do it that often as much, but Kincaid's an awesome human being, and I want to say how awesome he is to the independent circuit in the Northeast. So
I don't think there's a human being.
No, he is very important, and
Fraust would not exist without Don Kincaid.
His excitement and his enthusiasm, and the fact that he's so kind and was so helpful to me when I would just randomly message him and ask him questions, trying to figure out how to do this whole thing. So that's awesome from Kincaid. So let's talk about the Ron Zombie match.
That was a big surprise to me because Ron works, he's worked forever with Northeast Wrestling.
Yeah, is that the only group he works with now? Well, normally, I
it's
know back in the
wrestling gig, yeah.
Yeah.
And
so I used to see him other places back in the day, but now it just seems like he's exclusively there.
Well, they're a very good place to work.
Mm-hmm.
If it's kind of like you're in a band and you play dive bars all the time,
right.
And now you can play the Oakdale,
right,
every month or two. You really go back to the dive bars all the time.
Yep.
Like, no offense to the dive bars. I love the dive bars. I love
Man, me too.
And Ron does too.
Yeah.
But like, he's in a place where like the promotion really appreciates loyalty, and I don't blame them or him or anybody for that. But Wagner also trained with Killer Kowalski, you know, and obviously famously so did Ron. So I don't know how much that played into it either, but you know, they pitched the match and Ron was like, yeah, I'll wrestle this guy. I know him. This will be good. And which I will never appreciate enough. It's another, whereas Just Incredible was a legend from afar to me, somebody who I watched Heatwave 98, and I watched him beat Dreamer for the world title, and I was like, oh my God, this guy's from Waterbury. I can't believe he's doing all this shit. And that's nothing to disparage from Ron, because Ron's been wrestling for 20 plus years too. But Ron was more like a personal, like, oh wow, I'm gonna get. I told this guy for 20 years I was gonna find a way to wrestle a match against him, and I finally got to. He hit me in the back with a barbed wire baseball bat twice, and he put.
I saw that.
But you know, that's fine. It was an
seemed like
honor. It was a privilege, and one of my favorite things actually. So I'm glad you brought it up.
One thing I want to go back to Just Incredible for just a second. I enjoyed the zombie match and that venue. I mean, that was my first time there was a couple weeks back. But I'll ask you about that match coming up, and I really enjoyed that venue. However, the parking sucks. It's too tight. However, Just Incredible. I had a couple interactions with him. Most of them pleasant. And every time I do see him, he's very nice. But when I was young, you talk about him, how you know him from ECW mostly. First time I ever saw him was on Monday Night Raw as PJ Walker. He was a preliminary wrestler. And he beat Mike Rotunda, or IRS, excuse me, out of nowhere. Because he was a no-name preliminary guy. And then they ended up having like a feud. And they wrestled the New Haven Coliseum to a 20-minute draw at one night. And the funny part about it is, I was shocked, to be honest with you. Me and my friends were like, I couldn't believe that they're putting this guy in a 20-minute draw with Mike Rotunda of all guys. You know what I mean? And because I was a huge Mike Rotunda fan back growing up, and because he was famously known as being an amateur wrestler, I always, for some reason, respected the guys that were, they used their amateur background as part of their character. And I remember one of the first times I actually was interacting personally with Just Incredible just a couple of years ago. I brought that match up. And he really had to sit there and think. He's like, oh, wow. He goes, that's amazing that you remember that. I'm just like, it was 20-something years ago. So sorry to get off topic again, but I just wanted to bring that up because it was like one of my favorite moments in the New Haven Coliseum,
Thank you very much for sharing that with me.
Yeah, that was really cool.
He was one of the very last students at the dungeon, at the Heart.
Was he?
And Lance was huge in the in-ring training.
That's right. He did.
When the Impact players came together, and it was like, why are these guys are so different from each other, but they meshed so well.
Right. They were a good tag team, but like you said, they were two different kind of characters because Lance was like one of those serious Canadian style wrestlers, and where PJ was the gimmick kind of brawler, hardcore guy.
But they meshed well, Yeah. And that's why WWE liked him. He's told me the story, and I hope he doesn't mind if I tell it, but like he went to a WWE event after he graduated from the dungeon. Went to a WWE event with a suitcase with some cheap, shitty gear. And he just walked into the back, right? And nobody stopped him. Nobody stopped him. So he walked around until he found somebody he recognized. And I can't remember, but it might have been Pat Patterson. And he was like, hello, sir. My name is Peter Polacco. I trained with the Hearts, and I wondered if there was a chance I could wrestle today.
Wow.
Oh, hang on. Let's get some people around here, and let's find a way to talk to somebody. And, that's why at 19 he was doing what, he was PJ Walker. That's why, people think that because you're an ECW and because maybe you did some hardcore, like you can't work. And it's like, Just Incredible has an unbelievable mind for the business. to this day.
Yeah.
You know.
So I want to ask you one more. This was one of my favorite people. You took on Bull Dredd in a match at the same venue in Naugatuck, I believe. Was that? Yeah. How did that whole thing come about? I think Dredd is a legend in the New England area as far as being hardcore. And I think, were you doing the sexy Frost gimmick at that? Yes. Was that supposed to be, I'm sorry, was that supposed to be making fun of his sexy beast gimmick that he had at one time? Yeah. All right. I
hope that was clear. If it wasn't.
Well, yeah. I mean, I just wanted to make sure that was so.
Oh yeah. So he hadn't been out as the hardcore beast. He hadn't been like barbed wire tights Bull Dredd in years and years. He had been doing the sexy beast in NEW and coming out with the Godfather and shit. That's great.
Right. Yep.
And I was doing this thing in Battlefront where I was like, hardcore is stupid. I have the shirts. Hardcore is stupid. It was great. It was a lot of fun because then eventually he became hardcore champion. And I was like, oh no, hardcore is stupid. I'm not doing any of that shit. So that's where Fighting Ron came from. And then after Ron Zombie in Connecticut, the next logical step, and it's not a step down necessarily, it's just the next logical step after Ron Zombie in Connecticut hardcore becomes Bull Dredd. At the same time, Bull Dredd was the trainer at PWA in Cheshire. And I started down there in New Haven, and I was waiting tables. I met the wrong girl. I ran out of money. I wasn't training anymore. Left Connecticut for a while, came back. When I came back to Connecticut, and a friend of mine had died who used to do the backyard with us, and it really kind of made me feel like so many of my other friends have kids and wives and careers. If any of us are going to do this, I'm the last one. And I wasn't the best wrestler out of the group, but I wasn't the best entertainer out of the group. But you know what? I could do this. And I started going to PWA in Cheshire more often, started reffing matches. Bull Dredd was the trainer there then because Von Schmidt had moved down south. So it became like a mentor versus mentee thing.
Gotcha.
Coming to fight me. And I felt like the best way to make fun of him would be to make fun of the Sexy Beast stuff. But it turned out that Sexy Frost was like really over and popular. It was like, this is ridiculous. Why do people like this? But some of the best times I've had with making promos for that. I did one in a restaurant with the fucking Rose and like the Bellissimo and all that shit. When I came out as the Sexy Frost in Naugatuck, I got his ex-girlfriend into the ring and gave her a rose. Like,
okay.
It was pretty good.
There was a spot where he was supposed to, it looks like he was supposed to go through a table, but he just bounced off the table and hit the floor instead, rather than going through.
He's like 250 to 270. So
yeah, he's lost a lot of weight. Have you seen him?
Oh, he looks great.
He's incredible. Yeah. All right, let's see what else you got. Okay.
He looks better now than he did when he was doing the Sexy Beast.
Oh yeah, yeah. He's really thinned out, and
he's coming to New World Wrestling Xtreme on Saturday.
It's this Saturday. Okay.
He's starting to branch out a little more and go.
I've noticed.
Yeah. They're out in Rhode Island. It's Woonsocket, Rhode Island. It's hours away, but it's going to be.
Okay. Yeah, I see a lot of those shows like advertised, and I always plan on trying to get out there, but then I looked it up, and it's about 2 hours away or something to that effect.
For me, so probably about the same for you. Yeah, Hamden. Yeah.
Yeah, I usually try. I don't usually like to go more than like an hour, give or take a few minutes, but those shows look like they're stacked though, so it's probably worth the travel for me out of Hamden. So
New World Wrestling Xtreme. When I started going to those, and like I worked 1 or 2 of them.
Excuse me.
No, pardon me. They had a few. It wasn't what it is today.
Mm-hmm.
I was looking at the match cards for this coming event on Saturday, and I was like, damn, I'm in the only tag match. Like, This is all singles matches, and this is all quality competitors. You got Logan Black coming up from New York. You got Bull Dredd coming out for Connecticut. Our guy Sammy Diaz is the open weight champ. The heavyweight Marcos is a baller. He's from Massachusetts.
That guy's awesome. He's really good.
Yeah.
He's really good. Yeah.
Glad we agree. There's a lot of really good talent on the card, and it's Gangrel's going to be there, and he's fighting my stablemate in the Humidor, King Leon, who you must have seen King Leon at some point.
I think he was on a round table that Kincaid hosted once. I think he brought him on. I believe so.
He's good.
I think I interacted with him that particular day. Yes.
Yeah.
So
a lot of talent on these shows. And he's doing the right thing. He's making his singles matches. He's giving people a chance putting him in a position to succeed.
So mid-2020, basically the entire world is shut down, and in an undisclosed location, due to, I'm assuming, through COVID restrictions that you took on, Dirtbag Dan for the Battlefront Hardcore Championship, or Hardcore title, whichever.
Yes.
So let's tell you about that one. You were explaining there was a Freebird rule with the Filthy Family.
Yes. So the Filthy Family was Dirtbag Dan, Big Cal Stevens, who now wrestles as Steve Stetson, who you've seen on AEW.
Yep.
Orange Cassidy, good for him. He's a good kid too. I like him. I'm glad he's achieving things. And then Johnny Chill and Big Cal and Dirtbag were the tag team champions, and Dirtbag was the hardcore champion. So the whole plot, the whole gimmick, and not for them to win these titles, but the way for me to win the hardcore title. I dragged a ref down with 3 of my goons, and I grabbed Johnny Chill, who was at ringside during a tag team title match. So it was all at ringside, so the ref in the ring couldn't do nothing. I had my own ref, hit him with my finish, pin him on the outside of the ring, and my guys are there to keep anybody from interfering. 1, 2, 3, I'm the new hardcore champ. Because it was 24/7 and it was Freebird.
That's a weird combination.
Well, like I said, the tag team was Freebird because there are 3 of them.
Yep.
The 24/7 was the hardcore.
Mm-hmm.
So
okay,
I'm now hardcore champion. There's a good minute and a half video that just gets everything, and it's just And in the middle of this tag team championship match, the ring announcer D, who is a magnificent human being, is like, "Your new hardcore champion, Ryan Frost." It was awesome. It was so cool, and those fans were pissed. It was
wow. I like it when the fans get pissed off because that means you're doing what you're supposed to be doing. You know what I mean? And I think that doesn't happen that often in today's pro wrestling.
Everybody wants to be cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And, with the drawing heat is just, you see it didn't, I don't know how much this was worked, but you saw that Game Changer thing with Matt Cardona and Nick Gage, everybody, the fans going nuts. And it was just as far as the modern era goes, I think it's one of the greatest moments that happened in recent time with the fans going nuts and throwing stuff, going crazy. It's times like that are, you don't see that often anymore.
I mean, the guy literally is the embodiment of everything that the opposite, the complete opposite.
Right. Right. And that's what piss people off. Excuse me. So I think that's awesome. And the guy was bloody as hell. You saw his top was just covered in blood. I was just and I don't even watch that. I'm not a huge Game Changer fan. So, but I thought it was, I had to see that match because there was so much, hype behind it. Tell me about how you hooked up with Big Jim as a tag team.
So, Jim and I have known each other in passing for years and years. And the last match of the Bull Dredd feud, actually, I fought him in Naugatuck. And then I think it might even have been Fight for Your Dream, which is the Test of Strength WrestleMania.
Okay.
Might have been Fight for Your Dreams too, but I'm not sure. And it was a tag team match it was a tables match because the table didn't break. So now somebody's going through a table. And it was Bull Dredd and Bo Douglas, who I'm not sure if you're familiar with Bo.
I saw him on the last Test of Strength show for the first time.
He's one of his best friends. His school, the Belltime Club out towards Boston, is like...
I've definitely heard of that, the Belltime Club.
Like our school. Alec Price train
Okay.
So it was Bull Dredd and Bo against me and Big Jim. And we had known each other, but that's where we got really friendly because we were talking about the match and shit. And he actually went to bat for me. He didn't have to. He's the one who got chokeslammed through the table from the apron. You know, but Bull Dredd got his revenge because he won the tables match. But after that, you know, we kept in closer touch. And, you know, he had all the issues that he's had that everyone's aware of.
Yep.
But I was in this Humidor group in New World Wrestling Extreme, which is what we're doing on Saturday. And they were just asking for guys because somebody had to back out of the group because they were quitting wrestling. And who do you think you could bring in who can look good in a suit, smoking a cigar, drinking some whiskey, but is also equally capable of getting on the back of a motorcycle or brawling somebody at a dive, right? And I was like, Big Jim, obviously. And we had several names, including actually Lucas Chase, who just came out of Dustin Runnels' school, who was just on AEW.
Yep. He just ran the Rhodes Academy title this past week, and he's doing amazing work right now. I mean, good, happy for him. Great guy as well.
Very impressive. It's great, and he'll be your PAPW guy, right?
Yeah, I go to almost all the shows. Yeah,
he'll be back soon.
Yep,
and he'll be with Jim actually.
Yep, but he's got the faction now. They're coming in with the masks. Yeah.
Yep. So I pitched Jim, and we debated and we thought about different options. A lot of them were pretty cool, and any of them could have worked, but we went with Jim. And the faction, really, I've been doing a lot of tag stuff. Jim would prefer to do some tag stuff. He had a few surgeries.
Yeah.
So it's gonna.
He's coming back. His back is getting better. I talk to him somewhat, regularly. I feel bad for him because his back is taking a long time to heal up.
I saw him train last Thursday. Nimble, roll, jumps, fucking. Yeah. He looks really good right now. He looks
good.
Big.
Good.
And it was going to be me in the tag team, and then King Leon as the singles guy in this group. So it's me and Jim, who I've already tagged with once, at a big deal event for Test of Strength. So we go to the gym together 5 days a week.
That's awesome.
If I look good at all, that's mainly Big Jim,
I saw you guys in a match. Was it Future Great Wrestling? Is that what it was called? Yep. Against Shauna Reed and Amos. It's pretty interesting. What's up?
Hamilton, Ohio.
Oh, that's how far that was?
Future Wrestling is run by Cody Hawk, who trained Lee and Sammy Callahan and Eli Drake.
That was a pretty interesting match. I'm not really into mixed tag matches with the females fighting the guys as much, but
understand. And that was obviously an issue, and we
really
considering, but we addressed everything. We made sure that the right things that shouldn't happen didn't happen.
Right.
And God's honest truth. One of the promoters afterwards was like, "Thank you. That was, we're really happy about it. You made Shauna look great." And it's that's the goal. I
ended up enjoying the match overall. Honestly, it was that's my personal feeling on it, and I'm old school when it comes to watching wrestling. So it's that. I think that happens quite frequently, the intergender stuff, but
increasingly so.
Yes, and it just seems like you can't really go to many shows where that's not happening these days. But honestly, there has been some matches that I have enjoyed if done properly, and that would be a good example, as that was done pretty well.
Thank you. Appreciate
Yes,
it.
yes. So let's see what else. Tell me about how you. I know we're getting off, going kind of a little bit backwards. I tried to keep everything sort of in order, but with the internet, you can't really find as much, in order. Yeah. So tell me about teaming up with TJ Howell and forming Cold Cash.
Cool. So,
And then the breakup. Sorry.
Sure, no problem. We knew that we needed tag teams in Test of Strength because we introduced tag team titles.
Mm-hmm.
We had 16 teams from all over the Northeast compete in a tournament for these titles.
Wow.
And if Hippie Dickie Moon hadn't got hurt outside of wrestling, it would have been him and his partner, Moonshine McCready, and Above the Influence against the Kowalski guys, Wagner Brown and Jay Freddy. And it might have been a different outcome, who knows? But Hippie was replaced by Kyle Brad, who is a great talent, but he didn't have the cohesion with Moonshine. They weren't tag team for like 4 years before that. So, the Kowalski guys won them, and they're undeniable. They're so good. Have you seen Jay Freddy?
Sounds familiar. I think so.
He's been out to Japan. He's
Oh, really?
Like good. And Wagner's Wagner. So
the guy's been around. So I mean, I was watching him. I've seen Wagner a long time.
Yeah.
He's really. I'm surprised he hasn't gone.
But yeah, I mean, he's been there.
I've seen him on TNA a couple times. A few times back when. Yeah. Oh yeah. I've seen him on there. Yeah.
And you can see him in little spot. He does lots. It's a tough business for a lot of guys,
Yeah.
And Wagner Brown, even if he's not on television every week right now, his moves are his spot. You know what I mean?
Right.
His spots are, like, Wagner is just as good as you can get. So like,
right.
You see his shit everywhere, even if you don't see him there. And good for me and good for Test of Strength students because he's at the dojo 2 or 3 times a week.
That's awesome.
We get to learn from him. But yeah, so we knew that they needed tag teams, and TJ and I both live very close to each other, so we thought, this could really work. Big guy, little guy, Heart Foundation, like,
right.
It's good shit. But and the characters, it's funny because like Ryan Frost is just blue collar, like he never had anything. That's why he's so fucking miserable. This guy's such a and TJ Howell has always had everything, and he's entitled, and he never worked for a fucking thing in his entire life. Right. So, it wasn't a hired muscle thing. It was 2 characters that exist on their own on even footing, working together. Frosty gets to go on vacations and lead this lavish lifestyle that he otherwise couldn't have lived. TJ Howell III doesn't have to worry about anything because the big guy's over here, Right. And we did well, and we learned a lot together about tag team wrestling that I don't think either of us really knew. I think we did a lot of tape study. We worked a lot of practice matches, and I think both of us are infinitely better tag team wrestlers from having had that experience together. The breakup came a little unexpectedly, and I was like, we're finally getting momentum. We're finally like, people want to wrestle Cold Cash. Like, right. Like Tough Guy Inc., Brutal Bob and Tim. I don't know about Tim, but Brutal Bob was like, any day. I want those guys. It's like, that's awesome. That's a great feeling. People from other promotions are like, hey, come up here and wrestle us. It's like, yes, I would love to. And then the breakup happened. It's like, okay, well, I guess we're going to fight each other now.
So then you guys had the tag team match in Naugatuck, where you guys each had a mystery partner, and you brought back Hippie Dickie Moon, who I guess, as you said earlier, was out because of an injury.
Well, no. At the end of the tag team tournament, he was out with an injury. He couldn't.
Gotcha.
Finals.
Gotcha.
Hippie Dicky Moon has actually been in the finals of every championship at Test of Strength, and he hasn't walked away with any of them. It's crazy. That's storytelling, brother. I mean, he didn't do it on purpose, but that's how it happened. So Hippie coming out with me was like kind of a that was storytelling as well, because we knew each other back from PWA. He was still a student who I don't think had ever had a match at that Stevie Richards seminar. That was my first time stepping foot in a wrestling ring. And we kept in touch after that, and then he was the in-the-ring trainer a lot of the time while Bull Dredd was running training at Cheshire with Kara, PWA Cheshire. So I rolled around with Hippie a lot in those times, and then we all went over to Test of Strength when it closed. When PWA closed.
Right.
So I've known Hippie for a ton of years. I'm in his wedding, getting married soon. Love of his life. They have a beautiful son.
That's awesome.
And he's a great dad to her previous son as well. They're an amazing family. But so having him as a tag partner for that was really special to me. And then TJ's partner Jay Bougie is from New York. TJ Howell III and Jay Bougie know each other from a yacht club, and that's
right.
Like we were in a match against each other at a training day, and not an actual training day. Test of Strength has training day events.
Yep.
You've seen? Okay.
I haven't attended, but I know what they are. They're basically the free events that they have at the school, right?
Dojo shows, yeah.
Yeah.
When we're on the road, we'll do one of those in a month just to get people in front of an audience.
Yeah.
Jay Bougie came to one of those, and we were like, okay, so when you guys meet in the ring, shake hands and say you know each other from the yacht club. And it was awesome. And I like him a lot. He's a good kid. So he came out to be TJ's partner, and we wrestled, and now I got to go through him at House Rules on August 7th to get to TJ. And it's like, all right.
Where's that going to be? House Rules?
Torrington, Connecticut. At
Torrington.
Columbia Club, which used to be the Knights of Columbus.
Okay. Knights of Columbus.
Well, so it's the Columbia Club now, and they are firm about not being associated with the Knights of Columbus.
It's amazing. I'll tell you off. No, I'll tell you off here. It's funny. I would love to go to that show, but August 6th through the 9th, I'm going to be actually in Virginia. So I was looking for. This is how much of an idiot I am. The first thing I thought of was looking for indie shows down in Virginia to go to. When my wife said that we're going to visit family.
You'll never know what you might miss, man.
I know. There's actually, I looked up and found probably 4 organizations down there. None of them are running that weekend. So whatever. It is what it is. So I think that's pretty much all the questions that I've come across. Actually, I just want to. So you don't necessarily think hardcore is stupid. You are a hardcore wrestling fan. That was your gimmick, correct?
Okay. If you put Rob Van Dam versus Sabu on, or like Dreamer versus Raven, right? I'm gonna love it. They're gonna use weapons as part of the story.
Right.
If it's just like, oh, here's a bunch of shit, here's a bunch, like bang, 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 I'm gonna get up and then hit you into something, bang. And
who's going to go with more weapons, though? That's the other thing. It's going to be Sabu and Raven. Or what's the second match you mentioned? I'm sorry, Raven and Dreamer. Yeah, and then
history.
Yeah. So I've seen those matches in person back in the day. They were pretty wild. It's funny because it's like, are you still a big ECW fan?
Yeah, why?
Well, I'll tell you.
I feel like you're getting somewhere with this.
I am. When it was forming back in the day, I loved it. I thought it was incredible. Yeah, I started watching when they were still an NWA affiliate.
Oh, yeah, sure.
Okay. So as I get older, it's just, I don't think some of the material holds up. Oh. I know it might just be me and my style of wrestling. I prefer and somebody told me the other day, I was literally having this conversation. You can tell me the same thing if I really thought the 94 to 96 was their greatest era, because they had guys like Benoit, Guerrero, Jericho, and Public Enemy. And it was not necessarily as crazy, I guess. You know, a lot of it was, I mean, there was a mix of the hardcore, or what would be known as hardcore in the future, with a lot of technical stuff as well. And they would have the luchadors and stuff. But somebody told me I was completely fucking ridiculous for thinking that was their best era.
I mean, listen, so you had like Benoit, Eddie, Dean, right?
Yeah.
And then you move on, and it becomes Guido, super crazy, Tajiri.
I love Guido and Tajiri, you know.
Fucking
Yeah.
You always got hardcore wrestling with ECW along with the Weapons of Bullshit.
Right. I think initially, and this is just my opinion, they would call it, basically it was known as hardcore wrestling because they were gearing towards a different audience of hardcore wrestling fans that did not want what was going on in 1995 WWF. Right. It's just so or in WCW at the time, which both were just, if you're a kid or an adult watching it, you're like, what the fuck is this?
Cartoons.
And yeah, exactly. And it's just, and ECW at that time was hardcore wrestling. It could have been the technical match or a match with, you know, It was gearing towards a hard, but then I think the term hardcore just became associated with all the weapons and all that stuff as time went on to the regular, you know what I mean? So,
so if you doesn't hardcore, like, weapons is stupid. Hardcore music, not all of it, but like, like, listen, I love death metal. I love good death metal. I even like some black metal. I probably shouldn't, but I do. I don't care about aggressive vocals. I care about like nonsense.
Right.
With wrestling or music. Like, no, do something substantial, do something artful. Or else why the fuck are you doing it?
Right.
So yes, in that sense, I think hardcore is stupid.
Right. And I just like the hardcore stupid shirt. I mean, I thought it was pretty awesome. So
I want to wear it to a metal show sometime, see what happens.
Well, we'll see what happens. Let me know.
People will be like, yeah! This guy who loves fucking Opeth and Nevermore is going to be like, that's awesome. And this guy who likes Hatebreed is going to be like, fuck you. And it's like, fine, cool, whatever.
That's funny you said that. Let me ask you. All right. This is a question I did not have prepared, but who is your favorite singer? What's your favorite band when it comes to anything?
So, through the lens of, like, he passed away and he had a huge influence on my style, like Nevermore. The singer Warl Dane. Ron Zombie will probably call me right now, feeling that I said that, to tell you that Milano punched Warl Dane and got arrested for it. Because he loves that story. But,
isn't he a big Billy Milano fan? Isn't he?
Yeah.
Yeah, Billy Milano blocked me on Facebook. I think it was because that he, I know I said no politics, but I think it's because that he would come out with a lot of right-wing type posts, and I opened up my mind. So, but you know,
I mean, Milano passed away.
But did he really?
Yeah.
This is going back like a few years ago, though. So, I mean, I don't know how long. I didn't know that he died. How long ago was it? I mean, this has got to be, geez. I mean, it's going back a few years, though. So,
but so Nevermore, like the power, like Bruce Dickinson was my, like, Andy Savage was my first favorite wrestler. Bruce Dickinson was my first favorite singer.
It's funny. I heard Number of the Beast in the car on the way home today. And I knew that we were doing this interview, and I know you mentioned Bruce Dickinson in another interview, and I was just like, I thought of that. And I was just like, damn, that guy really is a great vocalist. I was never a huge Iron Maiden fan when I was a kid. Judas Priest was the band for me. I was huge into Halford, and they went strictly from Number of the Beast to playing Metal Gods from off British Steel by Judas Priest, like back to back. And I was like, God damn, that's so fucking awesome, dude.
So Halford is Shawn Michaels. Flashier.
All right.
Bruce Dickinson is Bret Hart.
All right.
Like, lace up the boots, go to work, and do the best fucking shit that ever happened.
Now I got to change my opinion because I'm actually a Bret Hart fan over Shawn Michaels. So, no, I'm kidding.
My opinion. It's only an opinion.
No, I know. It's funny that you said that, but
Love both of them.
yeah, I think honestly, those two dudes put on some of the greatest matches, and those two vocalists are phenomenal. So, is there anything else you would like to was there anything that you'd like to plug before we get out of here? Any shows, any social media?
Should do the plugging if I may.
Absolutely.
On my battery, damn, we did 80% of my battery. Saturday, Big Jim Anderson and myself, the Brass City Saints, representing the Humidor, led by Big Smoke, also including King Leon the Sixth. We take on the Hoods for the Tag Team Championships at New World Wrestling Extreme, while Leon fights Gangrel. It's going to be dope. It's just going to be a great event. A lot of really good singles matches on that card. Woonsocket, Rhode Island. Next Saturday is House Rules 3 for Test of Strength. I've got Jay Bougie with TJ Howell III in his corner, and I've got Aubrey in my corner. She's great. She's been in my corner for my very first match. Both times I wrestled at Fenway Park. Like, she's awesome. Let's see. Dang, I don't have August in my brain yet. Shit. I'm out of matches for myself, at least.
All right. What about your social media?
I got Ryan F. Wrestles on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. I don't do Twitter nearly enough. I know that's the one all the kids do. And then, Bands Continuum is from Connecticut. They're outstanding. Been doing it for a long time. I work at Chow Restaurant in Thomaston and Spartan's Restaurant in Waterbury. For you, when you come to Waterbury, good food. They both sponsored Test of Strength, so they're good dudes. I guess Test of Strength for training. If you're watching this, you're at least interested in wrestling, and if you're interested in wrestling, maybe you want to wrestle, maybe you do wrestle and you want to get better. Maybe you haven't wrestled in a while and you want to shake the rust off. Maybe you wrestle really well, but you want to get more time in the ring. Tuesdays and Thursdays with some Sundays. Wagner Brown is a visionary who has created a lot of what you see today. Alex Rojas, the GM, heel shit. Design and apparel, I must shout out. They do all of our logo, not all of our logos. They do all my logos. They do all our fight cards, all our posters. They do all our championship belts. You've seen those TOS belts.
Yep.
They're gorgeous. Heel shit design and apparel is a must if you want to buy any of our merch, or if you want something designed for yourself that you haven't gotten yet, just hit up Alex Rojas. I think that's about it for hype.
All right. Well, I must thank you very much for coming on today, and I think this went quite well. Thank you.
Well, thank you. Thank you for the good questions and the good time, man.